The following feature presentation is part of the Skywalking Network.
This is what you can look forward to on episode 451 of Skywalking Through Neverland.
The Munsters versus the Addams family. Now, were you ever aware of this rivalry while you were making the Munsters?
We need to do it right on the first time, which I like to do. I used to have a nickname called One Take Patrick.
How did I not know about this?
However, to us, he will always be remembered as Melvin Vandersnoot.
What is it like to be a person in the room that makes everybody smile?
What piece of advice do you give to young actors these days?
Are you ready?
Welcome to Neverland.
Here we go!
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome. Disneyland is your land.
When I first made Star Wars, everybody in Hollywood said, well, this is a movie Disney should have made.
You're more than just fans. You're family.
Best day ever!
Secrets love.
It's about family, and that's what's so powerful about it.
Hey.
You use a bird to write with. It's called tweeting.
When we visit the world of Disney, we never grow old. It's a Peter Pan, Neverland that keeps us young in heart.
This is Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi, and you are skywalking through Neverland. I have a good feeling about this.
Hey, Skywalkers! It is very surreal to be able to talk with someone you've watched on TV your whole life and then have them become part of a Christmas tradition? Oh my goodness, but it happened. But for right now, we want to welcome everyone back to Skywalking Through Neverland. I am Richard Woloski, but now everyone please say hello to my sweetie wife Sarah, who is still in her pajamas. And I say that because she didn't want me to say that.
I knew you were going to bring
Then why?
that up.
Why did you say don't mention this? Because you knew I was going to.
but it's hidden because I am wearing a what is this called?
A scarf.
A scarf. So you can't tell that I'm still in my pajamas, right?
Yes, we can. I just told everybody. And luckily, this is one of those very cold Southern California days where you just want to stay inside and batten down the hatches, close the windows, lock the doors, and just work from home and
That's right.
stay in your pajamas. Okay, truth be told, I was in my pajamas until like 2 minutes ago.
Yeah, and you put on a sweater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My Anakin sweatshirt.
I know, it's nice. I love it.
Okay.
I got that.
So
for
next
you.
time, tell everyone I'm in my pajamas because then I won't do it.
Oh, okay.
What have we never met before?
You work on a kid's level in terms of
No, I don't. No.
in terms of if you tell a kid to don't do something, they're gonna do it.
I'm gonna take my microphone and go home. Done.
Oh my gosh.
Oh. Well, Glenn says I can tell.
I'm still in my pajamas. Aw. Oh my goodness. Oh, yes. Glenn says Matt Lanner wore this sweatshirt to Galaxy's Edge the other day. I did see that. Yes. He posted on Instagram. I was like, ooh, my honey has that same sweatshirt.
Of course, the days that we don't go to Disneyland, Mark Hamill shows
Yeah.
up, Matt Lanter shows up, Johnny Depp shows up.
Yeah, no kidding.
I just can't win with Disneyland.
Oh, that's true. All right. Well, Skywalkers, we are your enthusiastic podcast destination for the many decades of your Star Wars, Disney, Marvel, and pop culture fandom.
We should add Monkees fandom in there.
Yeah. Well, pop
At
culture.
this point.
I know, but pop culture, encompasses a lot of things. Harry Potter, Monkees, Planet
with
of
all
the
the
Apes,
Monkees
I
coverage that we
suppose,
do.
Nintendo, all that fun stuff. All right, so it's time.
Well, then add all that onto next week.
I know.
30 minutes later.
Yeah. All right, everyone. So imagine your weekly Wookiee hug and your little sprinkle of pixie dust for our family of Skywalkers. Now, we are live right now recording these wraparounds on the Skywalking Through Neverland YouTube channel. We're also live on Facebook and on Instagram this week. We tried the live on Instagram. Hopefully more people are seeing us going live. However, we can't see the comments on Instagram. So the best way to watch us live will be YouTube. So head to YouTube, Skywalking Through Neverland, and subscribe, and then click the little bell for notifications so that you can see us talk and share clips and just have a fun time. See us record our show.
Especially when we do the classic Marvel Star Wars comics, you'll be able to see all those really fun, trippy panels.
Yeah, that's true.
Of the comic book.
Yeah. All right, now in this episode, we talk with Eddie Munster himself, Butch Patrick. We are so excited to have him on since he is a big part of the Monkees Christmas episode that we watch every year. That's our version of It's a Wonderful Life or A Christmas Story on Christmas Day.
Yeah, you get to watch one particular thing every Christmas, and for us, it's the Monkees Christmas episode.
Yeah.
And in our discussion, he gives us so many behind-the-scenes stories of playing Melvin Vandersnoot.
Uh-huh.
Just love saying that name, Melvin Vandersnoot.
Vandersnoot.
If we get another pet, the pet's name is going to be Melvin Vandersnoot. And he played Melvin on that Monkees Christmas episode, but we also talked to him about the Munsters, Lidsville, and working as a child actor. Can't wait to share this episode with you. Oh, I'm so excited about this.
And I do have to say, if you are listening to this on your podcatcher, well, Richard spent a lot of time putting in clips and things from the various things that we're talking about with Butch Patrick, and so I do recommend you watch the YouTube version of this because you worked very hard
For a
this
couple
weekend.
of days just trying to find all the clips, because when he talks about something, you like to show what it is that he's referring to.
Yeah, I was having fun at Disneyland, and Richard was editing.
Yeah, this was my Disneyland. My
Yeah.
Disneyland is working at home and editing.
Yeah, it's true.
All right, now we are being sponsored by Small World Vacations, and they are a diamond-level Disney vacation planner travel agency and can help you book your trip to a Disney park around the world. And best of all, the service is free of charge. So head over there to smallworldvacations.com for a no-obligation price quote and tell them Skywalking Through Neverland sent you.
Now, we are recording this episode from Long Beach, California on February 13th, 2024.
Yes, happy Valentine's Day Eve.
Yeah. And so, Richard, what happened today in Star Wars history?
Well, on this date, February the 13th, 2009, that's 15 years ago, Cartoon Network airs the episodes Blue Shadow Virus and Mystery of 1,000 Moons from the Clone Wars Season 1.
Ooh.
This is the two-part story arc that was foreshadowing 2020 in our universe.
Oh.
Yeah, in this episode, a Blue Shadow Virus is created in a lab by the evil Dr. Vindy to eradicate those who are spreading the disease of war. Now, it's up to Padme, C-3PO, Jar Jar Binks, Ahsoka Tano, Anakin Skywalker, and Obi-Wan Kenobi to save the galaxy. Where were they in 2020 for us?
Allow me to present the return of the infamous Blue Shadow Virus.
The Blue Shadow Virus? I thought that deadly disease was extinct.
Yes, it was wiped from the galaxy generations ago, but I have given it life once again.
Ah, you're not creating life, you're taking life.
The Blue Shadow Virus just sounds so deathly.
It is. It pretty much is the coronavirus, but in the Star Wars universe. Now, this was used to eradicate war.
Okay.
Because, like, hey, I'm gonna release this virus, and hopefully it's gonna hit the people that are just propelling this war. So maybe this will end it. Now, I was doing a rewatch of the Clone Wars for Today in Star Wars History, and I came across these episodes, and they gave me the chills.
Yeah.
Because it was reflecting what was happening right outside our window.
And you watched those in what, 2020?
2020, yeah. And I was doing all of these summary breakdowns for the book. And it was hard to watch anything about a virus as we were going through the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
It's still hard to watch anything about a virus. Remember how hard it was to watch The Last of Us?
Yeah.
That's about a virus that takes over the planet. Only theirs was a little bit more severe.
Right.
But we had to watch a live-action version of The Mandalorian and Grogu, this time being played out by Joel and Ellie.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. But back to the Clone Wars. It was on this day, February 13th, 2009, 15 years ago, that the episodes Blue Shadow Virus and Mystery of 1,000 Moons aired and tried to warn us.
Oh, Jeff. Welcome, Jeff. Live action Corona. Yeah.
Oh.
Oh,
Oof.
boy.
Oh, see, I'm getting chills right now. So
I know.
let's move on. Okay.
Let's move on.
Yeah, that was back in. Don't want to think about those days anymore.
Let's move on to
Things we want to share.
Things we want to share. Things we want to share. Things we want to share.
All right, speaking of the pandemic, during that time, we would occasionally do Zooms where Skywalkers would join us to share what they've been doing or show off any collectibles they just got. So with that, we kind of want to bring some of that back in a different way. So we have an announcement about things we want to share. So starting on January 19th, we are going to move Things We Want to Share, which is a segment on our show. It's now going to be a live 1-hour show on our YouTube channel. So this will be like a separate thing. It'll be a weekly live show where we're going to share what we've been up to. We're going to comment on relevant entertainment news, maybe play a game. It'll kind of change from week to week depending on what's going on.
Right. But our Things We Want to Share, sometimes we'll balloon up to like an hour segment.
Right.
So you figure, hey, let's have that be its own show.
Right. Its own separate thing where you guys can comment and we can really have a discussion. And then Richard and I don't have to be so cognizant of, oh, this is going to be just an audio only podcast as well. So we can, it'll be more of a free flowing thing.
And the Skywalkers get a chance to join in.
Yes. Yeah. So we're going to put a link in the live stream chat where you can join in the conversation and maybe even pop up on screen if you want to, or you can just comment and tell us what you've been doing that week. So make sure to subscribe on YouTube, Skywalking Through Neverland. Click on that bell for alerts so that you can be a part of that live Things We Want to Share.
Now, with the convention season coming up, a lot of the Skywalkers will go to the conventions and pick up new collectibles, and you can come on the show and show us and show everybody else.
Yeah.
So I can't wait for this. This is going to be so much fun.
And we're going to do them on Monday evenings. What time did we say? I believe 6 p.m.
6 p.m.
Pacific.
Yeah,
right.
And we'll try so hard to keep to that schedule. But, you know, with things picking up in our schedule, it may move around, but we'll try so hard to stick to that. We picked Mondays because Monday is always the slowest day for us.
Slow, and then in the summer, it'll probably move to Sundays. So we'll figure it out. But for now, it will be Mondays. Now, this is not going to be a replacement for our Zoom discussions with the Skywalking Force on the latest episodes. What do you have in mind for coverage of the Bad Batch? Usually with Bad Batch, yeah, we can tell them.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
We were able to do roundtable interviews yesterday with Michelle Ng, who plays Omega, and also producer and writer Jennifer Corbett and producer Brad Rao. And then on Saturday, we'll be speaking with D. Bradley Baker. And so we'll be able to share with you all kinds of behind-the-scenes tidbits on the Bad Batch. And we are really excited because we actually got to watch some episodes before talking with them. So we got some better insight into the show. So that's going to be exciting. We can share that on February 21st. By on or after that date, we'll be able to share that info.
Yeah, so we'll have 2 Zoom YouTube shows weekly or bi-weekly.
Bi-weekly.
Yes.
The Zoom discussions will be every other week. Yeah.
The on the episodes.
Right.
Yes.
On the episodes, right.
So everyone load up what you want to share. Come join us. Starting this Monday once again on February the 19th, live on YouTube.
6 p.m. Pacific. And we'll make sure to put that link in our show notes as well. So you can make sure you can, you know how you can do that little button on YouTube, like remind me?
All right. With that, let's now get into our discussion with Butch Patrick about Monkees, Munsters, and owning a haunted house. We are so excited about our next guest. I grew up watching Butch Patrick and just about everything from Shazam, Lidsville, the Phantom Tollbooth, the Munsters, and the Monkees.
Butch Patrick has worked with Clint Eastwood, Judy Garland, Edward G. Robinson, and countless iconic actors. However, to us, he will always be remembered as Melvin Vandersnoot from the Monkees Christmas episode.
All that would be necessary if I were a child. The fact of the matter is, gentlemen, I'm not.
Hey, Butch!
Hey. How y'all doing?
We are doing much better now, and I gotta say this is an honor. Our holiday tradition is to watch the Monkees Christmas episode every Christmas morning, so we can't wait to hear your stories. Now, your character, Melvin Vandersnoot, was one of the few guest characters who had an arc from being the adult kid who couldn't smile and bah humbugged his way through the holidays. Just like that, to reverting back to a child who found the beauty of Christmas through the Monkees. Now, we can't wait to hear your stories.
Yeah.
Did you have to audition with the Monkees to make sure that you were a right fit for them?
No, that was taken care of by the casting director. They did that. There wasn't really a big casting call for that. If I recall, there's probably only about 6 kids that were each agent. What they do is when they're casting something, they'll send down a breakdown to all the agents in Hollywood, and then each agency will try to send their one kid that fits the bill. And I remember there was only about 6 of us there. It wasn't a big casting call, if I remember correctly.
Do you recall who you were up against?
No, I really don't. It might have been Sheldon Collins. I was up against him a lot. We did some work together at Disney. We did Daniel Boone together, but he was the last person that I beat out for the Phantom Tollbooth. That he and I were going at it head to head on that one, and I really wanted to do that as well. But I remember the Monkees episode. Normally, when I would go on an interview, I really didn't care if I got it or not. I would give it my best shot. I would go up, do my thing, go home. But if the phone rang by the time I got home and I got it, okay, great, But it wasn't a big deal. It was just one of those things where my batting average was pretty high. I got about half the roles I went up on. So, but this one, I really I made the phone call before they called me. I called Mary, my agent. I go, "Did you hear from him yet?" Because I really wanted to get this part because it was the Monkees, for God's sake.
Yeah, were you a big fan of the Monkees?
I was a huge fan of the Monkees, and as was probably every junior high school, and young adult. I don't know about the older adults, but at that time they were as big as the Beatles in America, and they had a TV show.
So when you went out on the streets, did people recognize you? I guess they didn't recognize you as Eddie Munster because you had all the makeup on, but when you were a kid, did they recognize you as Melvin Vandersnoot?
I lived like 25 miles out of Hollywood, and I pretty much had a regular life going on outside the studio gates. Which I really appreciated the fact that I had a balance, and I never really was an actor. I always said myself I was a regular kid who had a knack for doing dialogue and being around adults without being intimidated. I was good at what I did, but it was never a career calling. It was more of a let's save your money so you can buy a race car concept when you turned 18. Because I always told people when I turn 18, I'm not going to do this anymore because as long as I'm under 18, I got to go home at 5 o'clock and they can't keep me any longer. So I had the child actor laws working for me. But and it's about the time I did Lidsville. I turned 18 doing Lidsville, and I pretty much did slow down quite a bit after that, and was pretty much out of the business by the time I was 22. But back to the Monkees, that was something that people still to this day remember. It's got a huge following, and thank goodness. And even though Chuck Jones's Phantom Tollbooth, his dream was to have it on every year like the Wizard of Oz, but as it turns out, that didn't happen. But luckily, the Monkees episode is on every year.
Absolutely, especially in our house.
Yeah. But it's a really good episode, and it's not so much because I'm in it, although I'm really happy to be in it. But when I first saw it air, I was very impressed at what they did with it. There's 2 factors that came into play that I wasn't aware of. I wasn't there when they did the singing. Rhea Chew, great, they're really good, talented singers, good harmonies. And at the end, when they broke down the fourth wall and they introduced everybody to come out that made the show possible, that set the tone of what it was like pretty accurately to be around them. They were very spontaneous. They were very likable. They were very energetic, very friendly, and very appreciative. They were very appreciative of what they had.
Oh, good to always hear that.
Yeah.
Now, how madcap was the rehearsal and the whole production? Because I've heard stories about behind the scenes, and these guys can be pretty crazy.
It was there was some structure to it, but it was certainly freeform. It was very almost like a improv situation. A lot of it. I remember there's one scene where during the fantasy scene in the toy store, Mickey hands me a styrofoam cup. Like, here's your gift. Take the cup. It's like a coffee cup, and it's like you can see me looking at it like, what? Like, why are you handing? You need water? You want more coffee? And he was just that way. And it was, for me, I was a hippie. So when I went to work for them, Peter was my favorite, because he was the hippie. I had great respect for them all, but if I had to pick one that I was going to gravitate towards at the time, I walked in with being a Peter fan, but I walked out being a fan of all of them.
Oh, nice. Now, what is your favorite behind the scenes story of working on that episode?
The funniest thing that I got out of that thing was seeing Davey and Sally Field were an item back then, and they were filming the Flying Nun out at Screen Gems as well. So it was funny to see her walk over and see the cute little lovebirds, holding hands and kissing in the corner. It was cute because I used to see Sandra Dee and Bobby Darin over at Universal when they were an item. So it was like seeing Davey and Sally Field. I thought was pretty funny.
That's adorable, and they're both so tiny. They're just like little.
Yeah,
people.
they were. It's like now before Davey passed, but I haven't seen him. He goes, "There's a little chap." I go, "Who you call him little now?" I'm towering over you. But he was always very kind and very generous, and it was fun. It's like over the years I've seen them. Mickey and I are kind of like the last Munster and Monkee standing of sorts. The original cast, we have my second Marilyn, Pat Priest, still with us, but Beverly passed. But Mickey and I have pretty much crossed paths a lot, and him being a child actor and me being a child actor, we have a little bit in common. It's always fun to catch up with him. He's a super talented guy.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Yeah, after the Monkees, he went on to producing and directing, and there's just no stopping him.
Yeah, one of the funniest stories. I was about 25, 30 years ago, and I was doing something, and I go, "You got a business card?" And he hands me his business card. I read it. It goes, "Amy's dad." It didn't even have his name on it.
That's so weird.
Maybe it was during the mid '80s when Amy Dolan's had a lot of acting gigs, and everyone knew.
And he's quite the. When I was a kid in junior high school, I loved woodworking and wood shop, and he's quite the carpenter.
Oh yeah, he and his daughters had a carpenter business that would make furniture.
I know that.
Well, someday I'll have studio chairs with Mickey's name on it.
It's funny. I was watching a thing the other night called The Wrecking Crew. It's a kind of a documentary about the 60s and 70s, late 50s, all through the 60s, and a little bit of the 70s. Mickey's is in it a lot, talking about how the Wrecking Crew and the Monkees were somewhat of us, and he was okay with it. He understood the whole thing. He was not really a musician. He learned how to play drums, but he wasn't a musician. He was an actor playing a musician. He was okay with it. But all the wannabe musicians or wannabe actors, whatever you want to do it, they were having big issues with it, where he was just like, "What's the problem?"
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, when you see Mickey, do you ever give him a styrofoam cup? There you go.
Yeah, no, I should autograph him and give him back. Well, another thing, when I was 16 years old, I was dating a girl up at the top of Mulholland Drive in 1969. And, that was the heyday of Sunset Boulevard and Laurel Canyon. And Mickey's house was the party pad, and Alice Cooper's babysitting Amy. And Stephen Stills is up there and John Mayer. I mean, it was like the who's who of music. It was an amazing place to be. Even though I was only 16 years old, I was fully grasping it because I was an old 16. And but I always got a kick out of that Mickey and Alice, and the pictures of him with John Lennon and the Hollywood Vampires, and what a life he's led. Amazing.
Yeah, we've met him a couple of times, and every time I shake his hand, it's like the history in this man, decades and decades. Now, do you still have the shooting script for the Monkees Christmas episode?
I do not, and I'll tell you, even when they gave me an autographed album when I left the shoot, and it was the one with Sagittarius something.
Pisces, Aquarius, Capricorn, and Jones.
And I lost it somewhere. Somebody 5-fingered it out of my house. I don't even have that. And it was signed in ballpoint pen back then. They didn't even have Sharpies, But I don't really have a whole lot from that period. Unfortunately, I wasn't really a big collector. I would get more joy out of giving it to someone that would appreciate it more than I did, I guess. And I was a little misguided in that.
Yeah, I asked just because it'd be fun to read the script and then watch the episode and go, okay, this is where they went off script, this is where they went back and forth.
Somebody approached me and said the episode that I did after that episode, the Mr. whatever the doll is in the
Mr. Schneider. Mr.
Schneider disappeared. That was the last time Mr. Schneider was seen.
Oh, yeah, he and your record album, took a walk.
Because they asked me, they go, did you take Mr. Schneider? Because he disappeared after your episode. I go, no.
You know what? Maybe Mr. Schneider and Wolfie, they're starting a commune somewhere.
Yeah, before we sign off, I'll pick up my iPad and I'll walk you into the other room.
Oh. That'll be awesome.
Give you a little treat.
Now, I'm sure you were a great fit for the Monkees because a lot of their episodes had to do with monsters. Now, when you came on, of course, they knew that you were Eddie Munster. I'm sure. Did they have questions for you? Did you feel like a big superstar on the set?
No, but I tell you what I did like. A lot of times when you look back at the episode, I would have been happy just to being on the set for 5 minutes, like a lot of the kids, and just being there. But the fact that the script was written to where you were an equal and you were pretty much in all the scenes, and you were actually the focus of a lot of the, what the purpose of the scene was. They were trying to work you and do this and teach you this. So I was really working as an equal with them, which I always thought was a really a wonderful thing and we were equals, and we did a lot of fun, and they knew that I was a pro, and I had some good shows behind me, but I always thought how lucky I was to be in a majority of the scenes with them.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, you're the main character in this episode. You have the full character arc turn as well.
It was a really big to do for me, and it was funny the way it worked out. That I was a very central part of the scripting and working with them and getting the whole Christmas value thing going, and it was wonderful. And then at the end, I'm gone, and then they do the wonderful singing, and they break down the wall and introduce everybody. I couldn't have asked for a better. I think it was a 3-day shoot for me. I think we knocked it out in 3 days, and they probably had an extra day for themselves. But I couldn't have asked for a better 3 days for I think I was in the 8th grade, maybe 14.
Oh,
were you going to regular school at this time?
Hold on, let me try. I'm slipping here on you. Hold on.
Oh,
there you go.
Nice.
No, so were you going to regular school at this time, or did you have a studio teacher?
Well, when you're working, you always have a welfare worker, they call them, on the set. But I would go back to normal school. The only time I went to private school was when I was 16. I went out of the country to do a movie, and I was a junior in high school, or I would have been a sophomore going into junior. But anyway, the public school wouldn't allow me to leave for 3 months and keep me in the same grade, so they were going to hold me back. And I said, I'm not going to go. It's not going to happen. So I then enrolled in Hollywood Professional School, which was a school that catered to kids in the industry and allowed you work credit if you're going to be not there a lot, which I wasn't. They allowed me to stay. I was there with the Cowsills and Peggy Fleming. Yeah, we had Barry was in my grade. John was in 8th grade. Susan was in 5th grade, and Paul was in senior. So I was there with 5 Cowsills, or four Cowsills, excuse me. But that was a fun time in itself. So yeah, and that was one of the things with the Monkees and the singing. The Cowsills are real similar in their harmonies and stuff. They're very good at singing too.
So when you went to school, then you went with other actors, and kids didn't say, "Oh yeah, there's Eddie Munster or Melvin," and you were just one of the kids.
Well, no, they did that until I was in I was in the 8th grade. I didn't go into private school until I was like I say in 1969. I did that in 67. I think it came out in 68.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was this shot around Halloween? The
Monkees
Monkees Christmas episode?
It's probably about 2 months ahead of Christmas, yeah.
Okay. That must have been so crazy.
Yeah, so now the Monkees are all improvising their way around their romps. Did that give you a little bit of freedom to improv yourself, or did you stick right to the script?
I stick to the script pretty much, yeah. That's they're the stars. They can do what they want to do, but when you're a kid, they'll give you a little latitude if you don't have to speak verbatim, word for word. But usually on that one, I was pretty much word for word because it was easy dialogue. But a lot of times when you do other work, there's certain writers and certain directors that are very much rigid to the letter of the law, and there are others that, as long as the point gets put across, and the essence of the message is sent and understood, you can kind of, have a little bit of latitude with it. My big thing is I very rarely do the same thing twice in the same way. So it would drive editors crazy and script girls crazy, because they would be writing, and if you pick your hand up and rub your head during this line, you got to match that up again, and then if you don't do it, or you change hands on them or whatever, it just would drive people crazy. So I tell people, I go, like I'm getting ready to do something upcoming, and I go, you're not going to see me do this the same way twice, so we need to do it right on the first time, which I like. I used to have a nickname called One Take Patrick for two reasons. Number one of that was I never really did it the same way twice, but I did it right. But I wanted to go home. The sooner we do this right, the sooner we're out of here. And I couldn't understand why everybody couldn't get that.
Yeah, I heard Jack Nicholson had the same problem. So sometimes they had to flip the film, so he's always holding something with that correct hand.
Well, I'm a huge fan of Clint Eastwood because he's a minimalist. Okay, let's move on. Moving forward, moving on. He knows what he wants. He gets it. He moves on. Where you get, there are some directors who are very Stanley Kubrick-like that, 150 takes later, and it's like, what?
Did I not inflect on the right part? Right phonetic?
Crazy.
Now there's one scene I can't wait to ask you about. This is right after Peter Tork crashes his moped in the department store, and Mike is paying the manager, and Davy is kind of sidling up to the female store associate, and clearly she's very, very uncomfortable with this. Do you recall this scene, or do you know what was happening?
Here, let's share it.
Okay, we can share it with you.
I'm looking at it.
Okay. Watch Davy.
She's annoying.
Yeah.
He's annoyed his flirtation.
Yeah, he's like sidling up to her.
And she's like backing away. Usually actors want to be up front and center, but she's like hiding behind the store manager. Do you recall that?
That's the girl that I danced with.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and she was all upset that another little 8-year-old wanted to
a little
chime
girl
in.
comes over my side and she goes, well.
Now, but do you recall that scene?
No. No, I don't.
Okay. I've always wondered what is going on there.
Yeah.
I know that the Monkees themselves have said that they can be very lecherous at times, so maybe they were doing something inappropriate.
Yeah, they were funny. It was very, very witty, very funny, very campy at the time. So yeah, it was good. It was good stuff.
Yeah, we can't go a Christmas without watching that episode, because it's just such a fun feeling all around it. When Peter's just going from place to place on the moped, riding all around it, and everyone's jumping on Santa Claus, you can just tell everyone just had a blast doing that.
Well, there were other good people in it too. Burt Muskin was wonderful as the butler. You see him a lot, like an Andy Mayberry. I mean, he was a classic. Yeah, I don't think he even started acting until he was in his 60s.
Oh, wow.
The late starter, but Burt Muskin was very, very well known, and I can't remember who my mom's name was, but everybody wanted to be on the Monkees. That was a real feather. People ask me, "What's your favorite thing I'm doing besides the Munsters?" I always tell them it was like probably the Monkees episode, one of my favorites, and working with the Phantom Tollbooth with Chuck Jones and all the voiceover actors.
It's funny watching some of the early 70s Disney movies. You can say he was on the Monkees, she was on the Monkees, he was on the Monkees, she was on the Monkees.
Yeah, Hollywood is a small circle.
Yeah, so what are your impressions of each of the Monkees? I know you said that you were a big fan of Peter Tork, but on set, what were your impressions of them?
Well, Mickey was the crazy one. Mike was pretty much the quiet one, the reserved one, more of the, I don't know, if there was a educated one who was the wise one, how he came off as the mellow one, and Davy was Davy. Davy was pretty much song and dance guy, But they were the personalities. They were great. They were on top of the world. They had it all, and they, like I said, the set was a fun set. A lot of energy, a lot of fun, and they were very appreciative of what there was none of the Don Kirshner, the stuff you hear. I saw none of that, and all I saw was a show being shot, fun people having a good time, and everybody loving what they were doing and cherishing it. And the day went by really fast.
Oh, that's good. But That's bad too, because he's like, oh, I want more. We can go another 4 hours. Come on, none of this 12-hour nonsense. Now let's talk a little bit about the Munsters there. Now in pop culture, there's always been those fan manifested battles between shows and movies, like the Monkees versus the Beatles, or Star Wars versus Star Trek, and the Munsters versus the Addams Family. Now, were you ever aware of this rivalry while you were making the Munsters?
No, and I'll tell you why. We were actually a unique situation. We were actually good for each other. They were an ABC show on Friday night. We were a Thursday night CBS show. Had we been head to head and you had to pick one or the other, there was no DVRs back then. So that would have made maybe for a legitimate, a Hatfields and McCoys type of thing. But no, the fact is we helped each other. We whether you preferred one or the other, there was a very strong chance you watched them both. We complemented each other. Good talent on both sides. We always won in the ratings a little bit. We were usually a little bit of a leg up on them. We had a lot more merchandise. We were heavily marketed. They came from a different dark, newspaper, magazine, the New Yorker with Charles Addams. So they had a whole different thing. And we were the Leave It to Beaver producers with Universal Monsters as the family sitcom. I mean, that was it. We were the Cleavers in makeup, literally. The difference that I tell people, it's very funny, is like, it's really easy because a lot of people mix them up. With Addams and the Munsters. Like, it's very simple. The Addams Family were monsters who look like people, and the Munsters were people who look like monsters. Simple as that. And they were dark and edgy, and we were friendly and warm and fuzzy. You just happened to have the makeup going. And then what made that work was the beautiful blonde who loved us for ourselves and didn't think of us as anything but family. And we thought of her as family, but unfortunate with her looks. They took her in, we loved her together, but we couldn't wait to get her married off.
That's why I say the fan manifested battles, because even between the Monkees and the Beatles, we're like, there's no battle here. We're good friends, and like you said, we complement each other.
Yeah.
Now Netflix has got Wednesday as an Addams Family spinoff, which has been very successful for them.
Really?
Do you think there's an opening here for an Eddie series?
I do not. You never know. I thought it was funny when I was doing Rob Zombie's, I was in with Rob Zombie for the new Munsters. I go, this is really funny. It's like 58 years later, you're revisiting the Addams Family and the Munsters, Rob Zombie and Tim Burton. They're both doing it in their different camp. The Wednesday is really well done, really cool. I'm a big Tim Burton fan, and I liked it. And I haven't really watched that many of them. I've seen a few of them, but Ortega does a really good job doing Wednesday. And I was good friends with Lisa Loring. And I actually was in the Addams Family Funhouse, which was, were you aware of that? There was a one-off show done at CBS when I was 18 or 19 years old. And it was called the Addams Family Funhouse. And it's Gomez was Jack Riley, who was Mr. Carlin on Newhart. Morticia was Liz Torres. Pat McCormick, the comedian, was Lurch. Stubby K, of all people, was Uncle Fester, and I was Pugsley, and Helen Bonstall was Wednesday, and Jim Neighbors was our guest star. It was horrible.
How did I not know about this?
Well, I got the play. Yeah, look it up. It's pretty obscure.
Wow. Well, we wrote it down. We're definitely going to look that up.
Yeah, the only thing that could have really helped this is maybe Paul Lynde as Thing.
Yeah, there you go. It's funny. I just at a show where I met Thing. I hadn't seen the new Thing, obviously. The new Thing. The Jenna Ortega thing.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, the Rob Zombie film was so much fun. I love the lighting design. And
it was fun. It was great. I tell people that. I go, just leave. Don't think of the old Munsters, and don't think of a House of a Thousand Corpses or the Devil's Rejects. Just look at it. It is on its own merit, and you'll like it. But if you're going to keep comparing it to his old work and the old Munsters, you're going to beat yourself up.
Yeah, no, you can't, because those purists who just want the black and white Munsters, like, no, this is not it. And this was a prequel, correct?
Yeah, that was the part about it. That was the neat thing about it. So how did Herman and Lily get together? And it was, like you say, the greatest love story ever told. I loved it. I thought it was funny. I thought it was witty. I was happy I was just being involved with it as Tin Can Man.
I now pronounce you Mr. and Mrs. Munster. Oh, yeah.
And I was happy as could be. And Rob's a friend, and I've been to his house, and I know Sherry Moon and Rob really well, and Riggs, his guitar player. It's all good.
So any talk of a sequel film where maybe we can see the genesis of Eddie Munster, and we can find out why a Frankenstein and a vampira have a werewolf son? I'm looking for that.
They needed a werewolf kid. Actually, the first episode I did of the Munsters, I didn't have a widow speak, and I didn't have bushy eyebrows, and they stopped production. Said no, he's not. That's not a believable offspring of Herman and Lily. So Mike Westmore, who was my makeup man at the time, he was an apprentice. Mike Westmore went on to do Star Trek: The Next Generation, and Oscar for Mask. And anyway, he's a good friend of mine, and I was so happy that. I used to idolize Mike. He was like handsome and young and drove a Jaguar, and he was a bachelor, and then he went and got married. Proved it all. But anyway, he created Wolf Wolf, and then he whipped up a widow's peak and the bushy eyebrows, and that was the Eddie that the world came to know and love. Originally, I wasn't really much of a werewolf. I just had pointed ears.
Yeah, we were wondering about that. Like, how could a Frankenstein and a vampira give birth to a werewolf?
I said it's creative license.
Now, were you a big Universal Monster fan when you did the Munsters, being over there at Universal?
Built all the models, went to all the movies. Creature of the Black Lagoon is still one of my favorite movies, mainly because to me it was always a believable concept that there could be a gill man, lurking in the Amazon. Why not? But I know I was a huge. I still love the Frankenstein, Dracula, the early. One of my favorites is Abbott and Costello, meet the Wolf, Dracula and the Wolfman. It's so good. It's so funny, and it's so entertaining. But it also has the really good, it has the best of both worlds. It has the comedy side of Abbott and Costello, but it's got the really good Universal monsters established in it as well.
Yeah, that's what introduced me to the Universal horror films, because I watched that Abbott and Costello film. But then you go from that to the regular Frankenstein and Wolfman and Dracula films. It's like, wait a minute, where's Abbott and Costello? Where's the funny business? I don't see any of this. It's just a lot of people talking. Stop talking and do something.
Yeah, we use some of the props from the original Frankenstein in Grandpa's laboratory in the dungeon. In fact, that's probably one of the reasons the Munsters was so well received. Is that we shot it on film. It looked like an old light. It was lit and it was done with the camera angles and the lighting and the sets like an old movie, like an old classic 30s movie. And then they and the acting was good. You had Yvonne DiCarlo and you had Fred and Al from Car 54, who are a very funny comedy team. And then you talk about guest stars on the Monkees. Look at the guest star list we had on the Munsters. We had top-notch comedians early in their careers, and we had some old timers come through it too. I mean, John Carradine is Mr. Gateman, Herman's boss. We had Charlie Ruggles, some of the newer, a young Don Rickles, a young Frank Gorshin, a young Harvey Korman, the young Jesse White. Oh my God, we had tons of people, good people.
Wow.
Now, you had your own real life 1313 Mockingbird Lane when you bought your grandmother's house in Missouri, a house where you spent some time growing up, which is haunted. Have you ever experienced any haunts?
No, and I used to call them out on that. I go, you guys I know you're here because everybody else has seen you. My sister's seen you. The town knows about you. Make yourselves known. No action. Not even any noises. I mean, I heard the roof came down once upstairs. I don't know whether they caused that or not, but no, I never had any personal experiences, although I have them on security camera.
What?
Yeah. So
doing what?
Just moving across the front door it was 3 a.m, and it was it's a infrared camera, and it showed one of them coming up to the security camera and walking by it. Then it showed a little smaller one, a shadow just moving across the floor. So here, I'll show you.
Oh my gosh!
Real quick, if I can. Let's see here. Where are we? There we are. Okay, so I don't know if you can see this. Let me try to get it here.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
So watch a little.
Oh yeah.
You see that?
Yeah.
What did you say?
Here, I'll do it again. Hold on. No, there. Okay, watch. Okay, there's the first one, and then watch the little guy go walking by.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Like a shadow or something?
Yeah, a shadow.
Yeah, like a shadow, but it was pitch black. That's a pitch black. That's night vision goggles type of thing going on. So anyway, yeah, and then we're saying, I have pictures of her in the window, Miss Ruby. My sister was the one that turned me on to her. She says, yeah, her name. When I moved to the house, I was expecting to call her Miss Ruby, and her name wasn't Miss Ruby. It was Elizabeth Wardell, daughter of the gentleman who built the house, but she married a guy named Ruby. So Michelle, as a little girl, apparently they communicated, and she says, you can call me Miss Ruby.
Huh. So have you guys ever done any seances in the house or anything like that?
Oh, no. I've had a lot of groups come in and spend the night, and I said, here, there's the coffee, there's this, I'll be back. They'll go, oh, we'll be gone in the morning, and I wake up, they're still there. Oh my God, we got so much activity. So I bought the house to save it from the wrecking ball. That was my purpose, was to save Grandma's house. Moving to Missouri, I was there in the 8th grade, right when I was doing right after I did the Munsters, and around the time I was doing the Monkees. But it was great fun when you're on a Stingray and you're 12, 13 years old, but not so much when you're an adult.
Well, you think the ghosts would be excited about having Eddie Munster in their house? Maybe they were giving you the respect, the room you need. There you go, Eddie. There you
they
are.
Were.
Oh my gosh.
Were they ever disruptive? I'm just very curious about this. Were they ever disruptive to your sister or to anyone else, or there's just shadows?
They weren't disruptive at all. They were occasionally we would have to have someone come in, and we would get an unruly, unwanted traveler. It was built on the house was actually built on a vortex, which is why we were having so much activity. At first, we thought maybe it was built on a cemetery or something, but no, it was just in a vortex. So there was a lot of people, a lot of souls moving, coming and going.
Sounds like they could build the next Ghostbusters film on that house somehow. What's a vortex? Like, what does that mean?
Going where?
It means it's a spot that has energy, like a crossroads for energy from one world to another.
It's like a world between worlds portal.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Well, and you sold it not too long ago, right?
3 years ago, yeah. 4 years ago.
So what do the new owners do with the house?
The guy bought it that wanted to get his kids out of I think he was living in Seattle or something, and he liked saving old houses. And I bought the house, I put a roof on it, I got the HVAC, I got it livable. But it was way more, it would have been a perfect house for someone that was a carpenter that just wanted to take it on and do one room a year, because it was a huge house. And a lot of the guy that built it was very, very wealthy, so he spared no expense. But, with the basement and the attic, it was like 4 full floors. And I was living there by myself, and each floor was about 2,500 square feet.
Wow.
Well, you think you'd want to do something else with it. I'm living on a vortex. This is more than just a fixer-upper for me.
Yeah, I just did what I set out to do, save it for Grandma's memory and move on.
Got it.
All right, now let's jump over here to Lidsville. Now, recently you were at Pasadena Comic-Con, which is where you and I met for a couple of seconds. Mm-hmm. But you reunited with Sid Croft, who was the brother of Marty Croft, who unfortunately just passed away. Mm-hmm. And they created Lidsville, and I saw a picture of you and Sid. To see you two together again, which it was so heartwarming. Have you seen him at other shows, or is this the first time in a while?
No, I saw Sid over. I've probably seen him 10 or 15 times since the show. Mainly a couple of years ago, I've always had this idea to do a Croft Con, and they actually finally came. We did a Croft Con up in the Orinda Theater up in the Bay Area. And it was the first time Sid and Marty had been in the same room for about 3 years. They were sort of estranged, but it was a big success. You look up CroftCon, spelled with a K. That was my idea. I'm very proud of that. And finally, the gentleman that owned the theater made it all happen. Oh God, his name escapes me at the moment. I feel so terrible. Derek Zimrak.
This CroftCon, tell us a little bit about what's going to be happening. I mean, it's the first ever.
First ever. It's going to be in Orinda, California, which is about 15 minutes from Oakland. Mm-hmm. And it's about time the Crofts had their own con. I mean, we do the conventions like Comic-Cons and stuff all over the country, but there's never been a Croft Con.
And I mean, the Crofts did a lot of shows. I mean, from HR Puff and stuff, right. And of course, I dropped my notes on the ground here.
Lidsville.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, they had incredible. But the kids from the Brady Bunch, they did the Brady Bunch Hour, also the Donnie Marie show. I mean, it's crazy. Butch Patrick, who did Lidsville, and of course, he was in the Munsters. Johnny Whitaker was the star of Sigmund the Sea Monster. It's so exciting. People are flying in from all over the world.
then Croft Camp, they did a lot of work. They produced a lot of shows. They were serious players.
And when he looked into the skies, he couldn't believe his ears or eyes. Lidsville is the cookiest. Lidsville is the kickiest. Lidsville is the grooviest. Lidsville is a living and friend. If you get a chance to go there, you'll be.
All their shows were just 16, 17 episodes, and then although Land of the Lost did run, I think they did 30. I think they did 34. They did 2 years worth. But yeah, they had a formula, very economical, knock them out, and 2 years on NBC, then 2 years on ABC. But for me, it was wonderful. I got paid for 4 years for a summer of work.
Wow, that's fantastic.
You had a good agent.
Yeah.
They actually sought me out on that one. I didn't really want to do the show. The Cowsills convinced me to do that show. I thought it was silly. And they said, you never turn down work. And I went and met them. And then I don't know if you're familiar with the Bugaloos.
Oh, yeah.
But Joy, who was Caroline Ellis, real cute girl. I saw a picture of her and I said, okay, if I do this show, will I meet her? And they go, oh, yeah, she's here all the time. Liars.
Someone in the film business were lying? What?
Yeah.
That is hilarious.
And now
though.
it's funny. Caroline, we did a Zoom with Caroline for the CroftCon. She was in Portugal, I believe, and she got on, and we're friends now, and a real sweet woman. But that was really why I wanted to do the show, was just the paycheck too. But I thought, maybe I'll meet Caroline Ellis. She's awfully cute.
Take a deep breath and repeat after me.
What's the most memorable thing you've heard from a fan at one of these signings?
Oh God, it's always positive, Well, this wasn't at the sign. This wasn't at a signing. This was at a radio station when I had to go do an interview, and the little, I guess the receptionist would be her title, I suppose. She says, she goes, I have to tell you something before you go anywhere. She goes, you saved my life. I go, what? She goes, when I was younger, she goes, I have really bad depression. I mean, really bad depression. And she goes, suicidal thoughts. She was the only thing that would get me out of my suicidal thoughts were the Munsters. I would watch the episodes of the Munsters, and she goes, and I would feel so much better because, you were my sort of like not an imaginary friend, but I would relate to you through the television set. And, when it got really dark, I could watch you guys and I would get out of my darkness. And I go, wow, that's very powerful stuff. But I always have a great time because people, I just did a show where I used to live in Geneseo before I moved to Macon. I went back there for an anniversary, and the woman that brought me in wrote me a very nice note. And she goes, what is it like to be a person in the room that makes everybody smile? I go, what? She goes, I sat and watched you. She goes, hundreds of people, you always had a smile on your face, but more than that, they always had a smile on their face. I go, I'm just lucky, I'm just blessed with the fact that the show resonates, good feelings for people and memories. And my book's called Munster Memories, and it's all about people sharing their memories. It's like a no-brainer. So yeah, I'm just lucky, and I don't mind doing it. I enjoy doing it because it's always interacting with being a special spot in someone's life because they enjoyed the show or they know someone that loved the show.
That's amazing. Yeah.
That's fantastic to hear those kinds of things. It makes it all worthwhile. Now, what piece of advice do you give to young actors these days?
I actually used to teach how to get in the show business, and I basically told them, the chances are you're not going to probably make it, just statistically proven. But it's like little league sports. You play little league and you want to go to the majors, but you don't make it to the majors. You still look back upon little league as a wonderful time in your life. So as far as acting goes, do it because you love it, not because it's going to make you rich. And everything that you need to know about acting will be beneficial in your life. Whatever you choose to do and whatever path you go down, the stuff that would make you a good actor, the communication skills, the responsibility, being punctual, being prepared, those are all things that will be very helpful in your life, whatever you choose to do. And if you really still need to be in the business, if you really just can't do without it, think about maybe going to a movie and watching all those people at the end of a movie where there's 3,000 names go scrolling by real slow. Every one of those persons is making a good living, and they all have benefits. They're in the industry. They're just not actors. And that's where the security might be for you, as long as your ego is okay, not being in front of the camera.
That's very good advice.
Yes.
And yeah, life lessons learned. Wow.
I just tell them, just don't, do it because you love it. And whether it's community theater, and if it turns into a career, that's awesome. But the chances are statistically proven it's not going to happen. But if you still just want to go to work at a studio, learn something other than acting.
Right.
Because that could still lead you into acting, but at least you're closer to it. You know, I mean, you want to be an actor, get a job in the studio. It's a lot easier than being an actor on the outside of the gates.
Have him go talk to Mickey Dolenz. Look at the career he's had outside of being an actor.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I know several people that have been extras. You can find out where they're shooting outside the studio gates on location. You hang around long. Hey, they need an extra. Here, hey, you get over here. Get over here. I mean, you never know if you're determined to do it. There are ways to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's no guarantees, but as long as you're happy, chasing the dream, it's fun.
Absolutely. Now, what is next for you? Is there any place where our Skywalkers can find you for signings, or do you have any projects or more books or any haunted attractions?
I've got a whole bunch of stuff going on. Last year, for the first time, I did my Munsters Mausoleum at a haunted attraction where I basically put the Universal monsters and the history of the Universal monsters and the Munsters on display I have a Dragula, I have a Munster coach, I have an Eddie Chopper, I'm a gearhead. So I put all those on display with my collection of Universal monsters, life size, and I'm going to turn when they're not sitting in the haunt. I'm going to open up a Universal themed monsters Airbnb. The two of them down here. You'll be sleeping in Herman and Lily's bed. The living room will be the Universal monsters. My collection will be on display. I have a hearse, which will be your company car while you're here. You'll be driving around in a hearse. I'm going to do that. I'm also working on Deadly Grounds Coffee hearse mobile coffee cart, where you go to places and you roll out the casket out of the back and the lid opens up and there's your coffee station for special events and this and that. Because I love the coffee and everybody likes coffee these days. So you know,
and when you say down here, you mean Arkansas?
The Arkansas, yeah.
Okay.
I do a lot of personal appearances, various types of personal appearances. I do a lot of independent movies. People reach out all the time. They like to have me, participate. I try to, depending on the content and depending on the quality. I don't want to start, doing D+, nothing personal, but not every movie because the person thinks it's great is great. You gotta sort of be selective without hurting their feelings. Nobody wants to get their feelings hurt. So, I'm 70 years old. I still travel a lot. I buy and sell muscle cars. Gearhead from the old days when I grew up 16 years old with a Mach 1 and a 427 vet. So those cars are extremely valuable now. I used to send cars to Australia, but the exchange rate changed a lot in the last few years and it's not profitable anymore. I enjoy traveling, do a lot of traveling. I'm going to do a couple tattoo conventions this year abroad. Everybody that's in the tattoo world loves the Munsters, and there's a lot of Universal Monster ink and Munsters ink on people. So yeah, there's a lot to keep me busy.
Wow. When do you sleep?
I sleep good. I make time to sleep.
Oh, you are really busy.
Warrior. I'm Willie Nelson. I love the road. I love being on the road. I honestly, why some of these old guys in Hollywood live so long is because they never stop working.
Yeah.
Now, as we wind down here, can you take us out with your favorite Melvin Vandersnoot quote?
Oh, yes. Here, take my hand. It gives my aunt a sense of security.
I'm staying with you. You are? Please take my hand. It gives my aunt a feeling of security. Peter, take
Here, I'm gonna walk you over to the other room real quick.
Okay.
Take my hand. It gives my aunt a sense of security.
I love that. Now, fellas. I love the way you say fellas.
Whoa, what is that?
That's from Bill Diamond, who worked for Jim Henson.
Oh, wow.
And we sell those as well. This is the
Whoa.
Woof woof. There's another one.
Oh.
There's the pinball machines.
Oh, can you pan to the right so we can see that and tilt down a little bit? Oh, wow.
Wow. Well, how fun.
And then there's a three up there.
Those are cute.
Those are adorable. You must get a lot of people asking to autograph their Wolfies.
Wow.
Yep.
Oh, wow. There's so much Munsters merchandise, and there's another puppet.
This is just the tip of the iceberg, believe me.
Wow.
So there you have it.
Now, is this something that we can post in the show as well, your tour?
Am I gonna what?
Is it okay if we post that little bit of the tour in the show as well?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Take care.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Butch.
Thanks, Butch.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, I'm Butch Patrick, Melvin Vandersnoot from the Christmas episode, and you are monkeying around. That's monkeying with 2 E's with Skywalking through Neverland.
Please take my hand. It gives my aunt a feeling of security.
Shout-outs, Skywalker shout-outs. Which Skywalkers get props from here in Neverland? Who was tweeted out? Shout out. Who was photobombed? Shout out. Who was shared a post? Shout out.
Hey, hey, Skywalkers. We are so grateful for the Skywalking Force. And that's why every month we shout you out with your own special segment. So we want to give big thanks to Anthony Kakias,
Blessed Cheesemaker,
Bryn McKinnon,
Carl Fox,
Chickavent,
Christopher Marino,
Courtney Turkel,
Dan Boris,
Darren Irvine,
Dave Kerwin,
Don Glover,
Garrett Sessions,
Glenn Stein,
hey Glenn, Jennifer Cole,
Jeremy and Heather Hunt,
Patrick Pine,
Patty Hammond,
Patty Nazarian,
Peter and Norma Heitman,
Reynold Gobey,
Scott Carmichael,
Scott Hume,
Terry Lee,
Wesley Meecombs,
Wynn Patterson,
say it right,
Wynn Patterson,
John Liang,
John Zancanaro,
Julie Caruana,
Julie Gildersleeve,
Cato Toby Ryder,
Kelly Turkel,
Laura Bryce,
Leanne Nelson,
Lisa Barry,
Meredith Duckworth,
Michael Corbett,
Michael Nip,
Mike Ward,
and Nancy Steinman.
Hey, everyone, thank you so much for your support. We cannot thank you enough. It really goes a long way.
Absolutely, and we hope you enjoyed your fun stickers that I created around the Christmas holiday and our holiday gift. So yay! All right, Skywalkers. Well, that wraps up episode 451 of
Skywalking Through Neverland. We want to thank Butch Patrick for coming on the show and monkeying around. And of course, all of you Skywalkers for watching the live stream right now on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. And thank you for chatting with us and commenting. Whenever you comment on YouTube, it always helps with the algorithm. Mm-hmm. So we cannot thank you enough for commenting on all the videos. Even if you just go on the videos and press hi, you write in hi or hey, something. The comments always help.
All right, and are you interested in our books? Autographed copies of Today in Star Wars History, Parts 1 and 2, and Skywalking Through My Fandom, the interactive notebook, are available now direct from us. So if you put in an order, we sign it right there and we ship it out to you guys. And that is skywalkingthrough-neverland.com/book.
Now, do you want to support Skywalking Through Neverland? Like we just said a few minutes ago, consider supporting us through the Skywalking Force, which is our Patreon. The Skywalking Force has access to bonus content in the form of our Zoom discussions on the latest Disney Plus shows, and in a couple of weeks, we'll be doing The Bad Batch Season 3.
This bonus content begins at only $5 a month, so you can head to skywalkingforce.com, have a look at the options, and you also get your name shouted out once a month as well, like this month. So thank you so much to those of you who are part of the Skywalking Force.
Now, we want to thank our sponsor once again, Small World Vacations, for their support. Thinking of a trip to a Disney park? Well, you can fill out a Get a Quote form at smallworldvacations.com today. Their vacation planning service is free of charge, so check it out and tell them Skywalking Through Neverland sent you.
Okay, everybody, get ready. Get ready.
We
are part of the Skywalking Network.
Collectively, Skynet. where you can find other great shows like Talking Apes,
The Max Effects Podcast,
The Neverland Clubhouse,
Totally Tell Me Everything,
Star Warsologies,
and the YouTube shows Collectopolis and
Today in Star Wars History. Who was the first one to jump on there? Courtney Turkel, followed by Glenn Stein.
Woohoo! Excellent. Skynet. All right, you can find us on social media. We are at Skywalking Pod for X and Instagram and Threads, I think. Yeah, that too. And you can also join our Facebook group. Just search Skywalking Through Neverland. And of course, our YouTube channel, which is the best way to watch our shows at Skywalking Through Neverland. You can email us, share@skywalkingthroughneverland.com.
A lot of people have been emailing us lately on topics about our shows.
That's right. Yeah.
So thank you for that. Yeah, keep them coming. We'll always respond to you, and thank you for taking the time to writing us an email with a longer discussion than just a post, a comment in a thread.
Right.
So we always appreciate that. Now, don't forget to stick around for bloopers and other fun bits that didn't make it into the show. And
always remember
to take my hand because it gives me an extra sense of security.
And Neverland on Alderaan.
Hey, look at those names to the left. They are part of the Skywalking Force, our Patreon.
Become a producer yourself and check out all the Disney Plus themed bonus content available depending on the level you subscribe.
Become a member of the elite Skywalking Force at skywalkingforce.com.